Okay, dear viewer, good morning. This is Sunday, the 1st of June. This is the first day in the month of June as we kick into the summer activity or third-term holiday. As many schools are closing now, good results are coming out from the BLM. Many primary schools are doing well despite all the struggle that many community went through, especially like Fontaine subdivision and in the bank in particular to open up schools, especially primary schools and even secondary schools. So we're having some amazing footages that will be releasing them as time goes on. And also what is going to happen during this third term holiday to keep the children or the student busy and many other activities and will be inspired bright future which help boost the socio-economy, educational activities. Last third term holiday, I think they have a plan on the way. The CEO will be here with me, who is also the CEO Emeritus, Mr. Tem Terren, will be discussing on that. Then we'll also be discussing on there's also a lot of development news happening. The conference, the Arizona conference or convention just ended. The LECUDO USA convention just ended. That LECUDO participated heavily. His Majesty the Fount of Fontaine was there with four other funds from the BLM. So we'll touch a little bit on that. And and of course, I think one of the key things on as we see on the title, uh, LECUDO new President General was elected yesterday. I think His Majesty must be very busy. Last week he was in Arizona with us. Now he's back in Cameroon, went to the village and win the election that took place. And what happened to the amended constitution that was rejected? And why was it rejected? These are some of the things that we'll be dissecting into to really find out and to really try to see what happened, who was asked to amend the constitution. Yes, everybody may have accepted that the constitution is old. Since 2008, over 15 years, it was supposed to be revised, amended, and it is. But it must be done in the proper way. We'll find out the reason why it was rejected at the General Assembly, as some people have already been mentioned on social media. So, dear viewers, as we said, we Gaza Media will also be having a holiday summer activity in Menji. So we'll have our student reporter that will be reporting and bringing footages from around Menji metro area and around the environment where we are able to reach, depending on the resources. It is very important that Menji, each and every one from the BLM understand that Menji is the headquarter of the BLM, similar to Limbe, the headquarter of Fako, similar to Kumba, the headquarter of Meme, Manfred, the headquarter of Manyu, and the rest of other headquarters, which I think, in my opinion, if the BLM people could focus, maybe uh, focus their resources, both human, financial capital, and make Menji become the real headquarters that have that reflection, then the BLM can begin to have a very proper name on the land map where people could even go to Menji, find a job, and earn a better living, just like people are migrating to Boya or to Limbe or to Kumba. So we should look at Menji that way. So with this, let me not talk too much alone. Let me bring CEO Emeritus, Atem Terence, and also the CEO of Inspire Bright Future. Yes, Mr. Terence, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Director.
Yeah. So, yes, as I was just asking, doing on my brief summary on what is going to transpire, we have seen some result of school. I mean, most of the school in Lebanon you actually champion in the opening of those schools at a time that nobody believed that things could happen. But you were able to pull that through. Do you have some footage? Do you have some preliminary report? I think we will have to generate a proper report, do a proper reporting on that for people to see.
Right. So, no, thank you, director, and thank you, our Gaza Media audience and Ngong Labang. We won't contact war. So, as you rightly said, for schools, when we took over 2020, there were no schools in the bank, and we decided that we were going to break that lock and make sure that we as a people we can help our children to be able to go to school. It wasn't easy. It was something that, as you know, I received so many personal attacks from different constituencies opposing the reopening of schools. But if you're in my business of you know building networks, lobbying and advocacy, then you always know how to go about things that are very difficult. So, and talking to our voices on the ground, talking to government, talking to other stakeholders, we're able to find consensus as to how at least our vulnerable students or pupils can go to school without any incident. And we started with one school, which was the Mutual Love nursery and primary school in Bel Air. And this was a partnership. All our things, as you know, Dr. Kumba, I am a fan of partnership and collaboration because that's the only way you do big things, and you consider that everybody is important, everybody's point of view is valuable and should only be eliminated from the merits. It should be based on whether an idea works and cannot work, that we should determine which idea comes to the forefront. And we started with Mutual Love, and then, first year 2021, 2022, we added four more schools: Chen, Standard, Jensen JE. And before we left office, we are proud that we had facilitated the establishment of 15 schools in the bank. And the
Mhm.
only reason why most people are not aware of this is because of the threats that we're facing towards.
We could not actually report or make
Yeah,
it
we
public.
we decided. I personally made the decision against so many people not to talk about this in public. You know, So, but we did a lot of work, and kudos to Madam Ara, who was our LECUDO school coordinator, and all the teachers, the pioneer teachers, and administration. And I would also appreciate our voices in the bushes. They are our brothers. They were through a lot of negotiation that I negotiated with them, and thank God, I grew up in the area, so that helped a lot, and there was trust and confidence, so they were able to allow us, and we negotiated with the administration to say, hey, these are not amber schools like sometimes some people who did not want schools to start in the bank went behind the scenes and tried to whip up sentiments from the administration to stop this initiative. But we negotiated with them and educated them too. And through that, today, we can see, and then we moved to Seat of Wisdom, which, as you know,
Yeah.
there was a lot of fight, name calling. People said, oh, Terrence, Terrence, Terrence. But, today we have Seat of Wisdom with almost 200 students, and, they just closed. I cannot be, I mean, I am as proud as a Lebang person as and for the work that our team did for the 4 years, what we were able to achieve. Organize a trip to Rome.
Yes, Terence. Let me interject here. Looking at Sidozom used to have a very good reputation in the BLM. I mean, in the whole of Cameroon,
It
even.
still has. It still
Yeah.
has.
So my question that I'm coming to is, what are you still in consultation with the folklore who are the manager of the school uh, to ensure that maybe that standard still maintained because students will have stay away from school, you know, getting students back and even teachers themselves. What kind of maybe additional training are these teachers receiving that would actually prepare this student for the GCE, which is coming on probably maybe in a few days?
Right. So, I am glad you asked
Or
this.
next year? I think the
Next
other
year,
I think this is,
from
yeah, okay,
four,
next
yeah,
year. Yeah,
next year.
next year. Yeah.
Right. And I'm glad you asked this, director, because you see, we cannot pretend and we cannot kid ourselves. We as people have to be honest. For an environment where there were crises and for 6, 7 years, citizen was not non-operational, and we had to restart from almost scratch, you're gonna expect problems, right?
Hmm.
But the goal is to move citizen to where it was before and even better. That's our drive. Um, I am part of the school, the reopening committee for citizen that the folklore put in place, and very, very involved. Sweza, USA, it's driving, it's leading that committee because when LECUDO, when we started this, when I started this in LECUDO, at one point I had to transition the project to Sweza because Sweza was just a better uh, partner to lead the project than LECUDO because you had, Sweza, it's the alumni.
Hmm.
So I think a lot of work is being done. You'll be very surprised how quickly the school administration, the school management board, because the folklore has a college management board in place, which is the folklore members and leaders who help to make sure that whatever the administration is doing is in tandem with the values of the folklore and also the values of the Catholic Church.
Yes.
um, and they have worked so hard. They had their end of year party on the 28th. They closed on the 28th. And there were a lot of prizes that were given, approved by the school reopening committee and funded. And kudos to His Majesty the Fount of Fontaine, who gave prizes to all the further math students and math students for all the classes. I think we have about 8 classes because each class has 2 sections, A and B. It's only from four that just has one class. So a lot of people gave classes. Marfo gave prizes. Marfo Combin also gave prizes, for the best behaved student, male and female, and a lot of other people. But Sweza, the Reopening Committee, Sweza USA, really funded the program, and
Okay.
it was
So,
great.
yes, then I think we'll probably have to maybe generate a report so that people can get maybe more details on other school, especially with the percentage pass in government common entrance and first school.
Yeah, director, just to mention, yeah, for the report, before the convention, we're finalizing a report for the 4 years that we were, because there are so many people who have been requesting for documentation, so that they can also guide people tomorrow if they want to do things like this, provide a proof of concept, but also for historical records to keep documentation of what happened. So by the
No, no,
con-
I think I know. I think it's important because I think there was a website that we saw that
Mhm.
somebody it was a website that they say there's no school existing in Lebanon,
In Lebanon, yeah.
which was false information, and I still go back to the issue of developing the website for the Kudu or the Kudu in Cameroon. I think I will touch that when I come to the new election section. Let me put it down. So okay, now tell me now moving on to now we are almost holiday now. People have just you don't want to maybe children will have maybe about 2 to 2 weeks break, rest a little bit. Then when Inspired Bright Future they did a lot of work last year. I think it was like the very first time that they launched it, and it went so well. So I know I have spoken to Edwin, who is the spokesperson for the sport committee in within the Inspired Bright Future. You now, as the head, as the CEO of Inspired Bright Future, when do we expect the activity to officially kick off?
Right, 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 right. So we've been doing a lot of work, and all of this it's for the development of the bank, development of the BLM. Um, so we are thinking the schedule. It's by the 10th of June. Now we have 14 teams, football teams that have registered, and we have
Compared
two
to how
more
many in last year? Compared to how
compared to
many?
seven last year. We've more than doubled, and we still have uh, two teams that are telling us they want to register, from the war, um, and Lower Ndungatet. And we also have a buying a team that wants to come in. So that might make 17. This is a big deal, as the young people tell us. I grew up in Azee, I grew up in Menji. You remember when we used to go to the market in Azee to play soccer, right?
Atusa.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Atusa,
Mhm.
and we'll be doing that without shoes. Mbongbang, you remember Mbongbang? I know Dr. Ernest, you didn't play soccer before. Some
No, who told you I didn't play? Ekpep Kasara,
okay,
Benin Toma, you know those one that they used to call them. The white one, Mbang was the black one. The white one
yeah.
were called Ekpep Kasara. So,
Thank you. So I'm a fan of soccer. I'm also a fan of young people, just uplifting young people, because I think that is the world. That is where the world is, right? That's where the
mhm,
leadership of tomorrow lies. So we have 14 teams already registered. Registration is 10,000. They have all paid their 10,000. We have three more teams that have indicated they're going to register. So the fixtures are going to be drawn on June the 10th, and we plan to launch the competition by around the 28th of June. And the reason why, not on the 22nd of June, the reason why we're doing that a little late is because the youths, the team captains have requested that, because GCE, most of their players are writing GCE, we
mhm.
should allow them time to,
And also you be student too, and also
and
you be
UB
student.
students are doing their retake and all of that. So
Yeah.
you can see, because of it, we'll have to shift it towards the end of June, around the 22nd of June, you know,
Okay.
towards the
So
second. Yes.
in addition to football tournament, I know last year we have football tournament and marathon. Those were the major activity. Any other thing that the program or the NGO is also doing or
Right. So
wants to do?
last year we didn't just have the football tournament or the soccer tournament. We also had the marathon. Remember, we had the marathon race, and then we had the education, the awareness creation, that youths and teens were taught about early pregnancy, avoid STDs and
Mhm.
mutable diseases. So we had a lot of education and awareness creation. So those were our three main items. But now for this year, we are going to do a marathon, and that marathon is going to be more intensive, and we're putting a huge amount for towards the marathon. The marathon goal is also to develop talent, young talent from the bank. The three best winners of the marathon, we're going to sponsor them to represent Lebang and the BLM at the mountain race in
Mhm.
February. So we have a sponsor who has dedicated to sponsor the three winners of the marathon, the champions of the marathon. Uh, from December, they will be moved to Boya to start training, to start going up the mountain and training and train, so that Lebang, Fontem, the BLM can also be represented, right? Because the idea that has been out there has been, say, uh, Lebang is a red zone, Fontem is a red zone, because people don't know that things are happening. So we're asking ourselves, okay, we need to also make ourselves known. We also have to let people know that Menji, Fontem, the BLM, it's alive, and there are things that they are doing, you know?
And exactly, and that's why I did mention on my opening statement that if all the forces of the BLM could recognize that Menji is their capital
Headquarters. Mhm,
or headquarters,
mhm.
uh, and consolidate some forces in Menji without thinking that Menji, because Menji is, I mean, if you look at it, Menji in this context is not even Leban per se. Menji is the headquarter of the BLM, where you have the administrative stuff, where you have it's metro area where you have the activity. You have people that will migrate, come there, work just like I did mention of Boya Olimbe, I did mention of Kumba, Manfe, etc., Tombe, and the rest. So that is something that we really need to figure out. How are we able to really put Menji on the map so that the BLM should be recognized? So that
Yeah.
somebody can say, hey, I think I remember I was talking with somebody. I think I was. I think The mayor even said on the live TV that Gaza media, you guys should try and pin Menji to be on the spotlight by exposing the kind of activity that you are doing. And with this, let me just seize the opportunity to say that I'll be reaching out to goodwill to actually support Gaza media, especially during this term holiday. We are running a 2 months program where we'll send some of our student journalists to be stationed in Minji so that all the activities, being it whatever, any cultural event, they will be reporting on those kind of activities so that people should begin to get images from Minji on daily basis on what is happening and not just leave that place just kind of uh, dark like that.
Yeah, so I am glad, director, again you raise this. It's very important. But first, before I even talk about this, thank you for all the services that you continue to provide to the community. And this is Lebang, Lewon, Dungatet, Sota, the BLM, and Cameroon, and even the United States. We see you reporting in the university there in, you know, in
Yeah,
West
Marshall
Virginia.
University. Yeah.
Um, so Gaza Media has gone global, but you're doing great work, selfless work, because I think most people don't understand that most of the work you're not paid. Your team is not paid. And the reason I say this is to let people understand that if they don't support Gaza Media financially, these services, you wouldn't be able to do better. Everybody, I think many people are expecting Gaza Media to cover more activities, cover more this thing. It takes money. And I think to support your initiatives, I can announce here that the board of directors of the board of trustees for Inspire Bright Futures would start with a donation of $200 to support the activities for Fontem during
Mhm.
summer, and hopefully others will respond to your ask, which is really a great thing. But the point to for Menji, our folks in the BLM need to just understand that Menji does not belong to Leban. You know, there's a double standard sometimes that people miss. You know, they try to push the wrong information. Menji is the headquarters of the BLM. It's not uh, Menji itself. Menji, as constructed within the definition of the headquarters, it's beyond Chief Fomenji, right? It's
Mhm.
it's a metropolitan area. So administratively, people are not thinking about Chief Fomenji. People are not thinking about the fund of Fontem. People are not even thinking about the bank. People are not thinking about even Fontem subdivision. People are thinking about the headquarters of
Yeah.
the BLM division.
Yeah.
Menji has to reflect what the BLM people would like the image of their capital city to be. And many people might not know this. The composition of the population of Menji before the crisis was
Was diverse, was well diverse.
very diverse, cosmopolitan. You had non-Lebang, non-the BLM people, uh,
You even have francophones.
yeah,
You
you
even
had
have francophones.
francophones who were in the council. You had Baminda people in the council representing different sections of the municipality because they have been there. That is part of their this thing, their land. That is home to them, and that's how it is. So I think it's important that we all in the BLM need to promote Menji because if we don't, then we need to understand it's going to reflect on us, negative on us, the way our divisional headquarters is. And I'm glad that Gaza Media is really prepared to shine the light and beam out because, as I said, knowledge is power. People need to know what is happening at the divisional headquarters. Knowledge is power. If people know, then I think people would process information differently.
Yeah, sure. So, Tenen, I think we really need to do that, and I want to thank you too for at least for that, for recognizing our work and for the support. We always say that the media follow where there are activities. When you were CEO, LECUDO was doing a lot of work, and that's why we follow them. I remember, I think one of my brother, uh, uh, he was the board of trustees for the LECUDO. He said, "NS, you are no longer reporting on me and no longer interviewing me." Somebody said, "Because you are no longer part of the leadership, so you have no project." So, so that
Yes,
was kind of thing that,
but
yeah.
Director, I think
Mhm,
just to add in terms of our activities, um, as you know, our vision is really to empower the youths, women, and communities, right?
mhm,
We
mhm.
really think empowerment is key. People have to be able to, we need to help people to help themselves. We can't be in the business of feeding people all, every time. No, let's help them help themselves, empower them, because a lot of people have talent, skills, and opportunities to do great things. So in addition to the soccer tournament, which is going to be huge, we project, as I said, about 16 teams, 14 to 16 teams. We're going to have the marathon. We also have going to have the awareness and sensitization campaigns for different social ills challenges that our youths are facing. But we're also going to have a pedagogic seminar, right? Our
Mhm.
community, our schools that we have in Fontem, and I mean Fontem subdivision. Um, the teachers, many of the teachers are not the government teachers who were well trained. So there's a need for us to improve on their capacity building, to help strengthen the ability to teach and teach better. So we're also going to be organizing a pedagogic seminar for all schools in Fontem subdivision to train these teachers on new teaching methods, and how to manage their classrooms better. So that's it, the fourth program. The last program that I'll talk about, it's project, monitors. There's going to be a workshop, a training workshop for community representatives. So each village we're gonna be reaching out to them soon to provide us two leaders in their community who can help monitor projects, help with need identification, because the project management framework, uh, monitor and evaluation is key, right? But
Mhm.
also need assessment and project initiation is important. So we think that if we're able to educate our local people, then we're going to empower them to know how to defend their interests, right? So each community is going to give us 2 to 3 project monitors. We're going to call them project monitors. They're going to help to monitor projects, whether government or whatever projects in their various communities, and they report and they know how to address challenges. And we want them to monitor, to do more of continuous monitoring and evaluation. We don't want the idea to wait until a project is completed, then you come and try to monitor and evaluate. That's the old concept.
Yeah.
As the
Mhm.
project is going on, we want the community to be engaged, because this is their benefit. This is their right. They can be engaged at that time, so that if the contractor or the workers are not doing things the right way, at that time it's easier to intervene and correct. And we also don't want conflict. People always think that when the government sends a project to your area, it's a privilege. No, it is your right as a community. You or your people have contributed to taxes that the Cameroon government is using to generate money to sponsor this project. So it's a right. So you have a right to this project. So when the project comes, you need to work with the contractor. Don't act like the contractor is only coming to make his money. No, act like the contractor is coming to help your community develop. So be
Yeah.
a partner with a contractor. Have a good relationship, build a good
Yeah.
rapport with the contractor. And I can tell you, for example, the Menji, the main Jetakwe Road that the mayor put in
Mhm.
place. So we stayed engaged. We created a committee that stayed engaged with the mayor and the contractor. And there were some that project was supposed to take, I think it was 5 days. But because we stayed engaged and had a good relationship, built a good relationship with the contractor and the mayor was able to look at the challenge and increase, I think he added 2 or 3 days, and we got a better outcome compared to the work order that
Yeah,
was
you work.
earlier.
Yeah, you work in synergy
You
instead of
work in
antagonizing.
synergy. It must
Instead of
not be
antagonizing
always
each
fighting.
other.
No, it's
Yeah.
not. It's not fighting. So we're going to train all of these monitors, and also train them on how to write a complaint to the SDO, to the mayor, and all the powers that be. They would also know when projects are sent to the council for selection. They'll know when projects are sent for the public investment budget, how they are sent, how they can develop a project to the various ministries. So we want to build capacity and strengthen our local people's ability to control their destiny. Everything must not be done from outside. I think that's the old mentality. We have to
Yeah.
strengthen these
And
local
Terence,
people
yes,
to know
Terence,
their
talking
rights.
about this, I know this somehow this your field where you did a lot of training and you work in this area for a very long time. Last weekend, I know you were not in Arizona, but I believe you must have watched some footages and clip. I think probably the leadership of Legda USA may be coming out with something like maybe a resolution or a communique or what or declaration what come out of that convention. But before then, um, so far you have looked at it. You know how at one time when you were still the CEO, you were within the board,
Yeah,
the
the board of
leadership,
Legda. Yeah, board of Legda.
board of
Yes.
leader.
And Pascal is my very good friend too. The
Looking
CEO.
at the transition and what transpired there, what do you make of it? And of course, you were even the award was given to LECUDO on behalf. Your name was mentioned as somebody who has worked hard. Pay Legda CEO, Mr. Teden Pascal, because he said the work that you did, they hand over the award to the current CEO, Temtembo Ben Fominka. Then I think from there, the fund who was there take that credit aggrandizement, which was a good display. Yeah. So my question is, what do you make of that? The transition that 2 years ago, that was 2023, how Legda was almost at the verge of, I mean, even the cultural even was just at the backyard, like a fireside, like the burn fire in the US. They say people just go and gather and sit. Then seeing what transpired there.
Right. So, as I said, the CEO, Mr. Pascal Tiendem, is a personal friend, right from Fontem. I actually encourage him and convince him to come and take this position, the position of the CEO for Legda, when we were in the board, when he was still a chief financial officer. And the reason I did that is because Mr. Etiondem has a certain level of dynamism. He's my type of guy, who it's all about doing things for not for self, not for self glorification, but how can you improve an institution? How can you help improve a community? How can you help improve the lives of the common man? And I've known Pascal for a long time. He has a lot of drive. And if there's anybody in this United States who sees what Pascal has been able to do for the 2 years that he's been in lecture and they cannot appreciate it, then I think that person must be blind or ungrateful. Pascal took this organization from Professor Ndemano, and each of them, again, in the past, they did their best. But we are in a race. The race is to the bottom, right? The race is to the top, to the mountain top, not to the bottom. So we're always expecting new people
More.
to come and do more. Because as CEO, I always tell people, and I told people at the convention of the Kudu USA, the only way I can feel happy that I succeeded is if the person who took over me came to Mbo for Minka can do even better than what I did. And that's why you see for everything else, there is one thing that I have said I am never going to compromise it, which is to support the current team in the Kodu USA to do better, to support them to succeed. That's the only way you can look behind and you say, boy, my team did a great job. Look at how the fruit, the seeds that they planted, that we planted, look at how it's blossoming. You understand? Because if the new team it's not doing a better job, then that means we planted seed on an unfertile land, and then that seed is not a good seed that we planted. So Pascal has done great things. My only concern, and I regret that I wasn't able to be in Arizona because Pascal had reached out to me and say, CEO Emeritus, we need you to come to Arizona because we have an award for you and the LECUDO for the great work that you and your team you did during your time. And you did that on behalf of the BLM. Because, Director, look at what we did. We put a health insurance program in Mary Health, and we've opened it up to benefit everybody, every BLM person, right? Every BLM person. And we're going to release statistics. And you see one third of those who benefited from that program for 2 years, 2022 and 2023, one third of the beneficiaries were not the BLM people. They were from Esota, they were from Lower Ndungated, they were from the war.
They are not the bank people.
Not the bank people, sorry, they were not the bank people. So we, and that is what I'm encouraging other fandoms to do. We need to be more patriotic to ourselves. We need to be more uniting. We don't have to look at ourselves, a lot of, I don't know how these boundaries came in place, right? But the truth is that the Bangman is not different from a Sota person. The Bangman is not different from Dungatet person. We are all brothers and sisters. When we went to Sido Wisdom, who cared? Nobody cared. Some of my best friends are from a Sota, are from the war. Who cares? Nobody cares. So I think what Pascal is trying to do is great. My only thing is, and I've expressed this to him privately, people have a very short fuse when they don't see results, action on the ground. If you don't translate talk to measurable outcomes on the ground, and when I say measurable outcomes, I don't mean whether you were able to hold a convention or not, or do a good convention and bring the funds here. That is good. But that is only so far it can take you. Because at the end of the day, like that, it's all about culture development. How do we improve the lives of our people on that piece of real estate that God gave to us, which is the BLM? And if you're not doing that, the rubber will meet the road very soon. I've spoken, you know, I've made
Mhm.
these recommendations to my dear friend Pascal that you're doing a good job, but you need to close the loop. People have to start saying action on the ground, development on the ground, and you better you do small. If you don't have the funding to do a big piece, do something small. It's a proof of concept. Pilot. You start a pilot program, people see and they have hope. They start thinking that, okay, you can do the big things because they've already seen results, right? And you use that as a pilot program, as a proof of
Mhm.
concept, and give people hope that is realistic. Because else, when you come and say the BLM paradise, when government itself has not been able to to turn the BLM into a paradise, people might soon lose faith. So you need to do projects on the ground that will benefit the local man. And don't wait for perfection. I'm telling you, anybody who is in the development arena is in leadership that you only want to only get a certain amount of money or get people to agree with you before you do stuff. Before you know it, 4 years is gone and you have nothing to show for it. You have meetings. People, that is common in Cameroon, meetings. Hey, people
Mhm.
hold meetings, LECUDO in Cameroon. People just hold meetings and nothing, and you turn around and you ask yourself what is coming tangible has come out of this is meetings and proclamations. So it's a little advice, and I respect our big
Yes,
brother,
I think. Yeah,
Chief, you know,
I
who is,
think from some of the discussion, I think when they release the maybe resolution or the proclamation, then in few 3 months, 4 months, we'll begin to see if action will begin to take place or not. But as the media, I will be able to reach back to them and say, "Hey, what are you doing?"
yeah, and it
Terence,
must be
let's
on a time frame. They
yeah,
must have a time frame. I mean,
frame,
it's not an open-ended check that
check.
they give to you. And some of us, I always say this, we are open to help. We are always here to assist. And there are many more people. I know part of leadership challenge is that you are the CEO, you put a committee in place, and eventually you realize that you are by yourself. People are not doing the work that they were supposed to do. But as a good CEO, you figure out, you scan the environment, and you find people, you co-op people that you know are dedicated, right? Would
Mhm.
would would help your vision succeed. And there are quite a good number of them around.
Terence, let's move now to this big topic. I call it it's big topic. Yes, the election, that was overdue. This election was supposed to be in March. Yeah, it's conducting now. at the end of May. Um, so we will have April, May, 2 months due. But finally, the election is here. We'll have the new CEO. I think someone have sent the list to me. Uh, have you gotten any information or any background knowledge apart from what was on social media?
Oh my God. I mean, if you want to ask me how happy I am, I think I'm extremely happy. And I think the bank people generally should be extremely happy and excited about a new day, new dawn for LECUDO and for the bank. Because, as you rightly said, a new executive for LECUDO general has been elected. And I say general with emphasis on that word general, because the hope is that the new team is actually going to make LECUDO to be a LECUDO general.
True general, exactly.
LECUDO general. This is important. We can't have a document that is saying, as part of its motto, it leads by saying we'll promote unity. Unity. And then people come and bring divide and roll and conquer. And they divide the bank people into whether you're in the diaspora or you're this. It's inconsequential. Every Lebanese person has a right and an obligation to help the bank. So this new team, I am really excited because Barrister Kia Emmanuel, I mean, we call him Kia in Sitawism. I went to Sitawism with him. Some people call him Ke, but you call all of us in Sitawism who were with him, we used to call him Kia Emmanuel. Great guy, you know. In 2023, when I went to Cameroon, I had a drink with him. And I was also telling Kia, I said, look, bro, you got to really try for, when I try for step in, because we need also a generational shift, right? We
Mhm.
need a generational shift in the kudu. We cannot be blaming Paul Biya and his leadership for staying there too long with old people and not letting the youths be part of governance. And we make Lekudo to be a stagnant organization.
Attention.
The only way you succeed, you grow in this modern age, it's innovation, it's dynamism, it's open up, break barriers. Let anybody who has the best idea be able to come and present their idea, the manifesto, and if they win, they get a mandate from the people. It doesn't matter where they are. You know, if they are in the diaspora, if they are in Menji, if they are in Kumba, they are in Boya, okay, let them make their case and show how they are planning to govern Lekudu, how they are planning to impact Lebang, bring development to Lebang, and then let there be elections. So Nkia is a strong guy, but he's also coming. He came in with a strong team. Look at the development officer Nkemta for Felix. That is a guy with a stellar reputation when it comes to development. He's a subject matter expert. You see, this is what, if you look at the Kudu years, when I came in, I tried to build. We have a lot of talent, a lot of human capital, people who
Mhm.
can move mountains, who are trained, but
Yeah.
they're usually not given the opportunity. So we are glad, we have Fabian there, who is a secretary general, also a Sweden. We have Mrs. Marie Assom, you know.
Yeah, I think she maintained the post of the treasurer.
Yeah, she maintained the post of the treasurer. So I think the new executive understands that they need to revamp the Kodo. And that starts with organizing and
Mhm.
mobilizing for constitutional amendment that is inclusive. You can't, I mean, to be honest with you, when I see what they did, what some
Yes,
people
tell them
tried.
before we talk on this constitution, because I really want us to, because there have been a lot of talk on this constitution issue, which the former one or the old constitution, which I would still is still the same one that they are using right now because the amended one was rejected. So, because when you look at that constitution, no, before we even get to that, in terms of leadership, I think there are some of the basic fundamental project that I think the leadership, the outgoing or the outgone leadership, was not able to put in place. We were discussing about schools project in the bank. There's no official public document that you can just go to the any browser and just type LECUDO or LECUDO as an organization, and it will pop up where you see the list of schools that they have opened. You see project that we have carried on. You see the road grading that is going on. You see the possession of the road equipment. You see the electrification project. You see the water project, open of solar, etc., etc. There is no document. There's no website. But these are projects that does not even require somebody to go down to the base or down to the village. To me, because I remember the Fun of Fountain existed after the trip from Italy that you were with him in Italy. He came back and was in Douala and was saying it right there. But none of the leadership, none of the member of the executive, including the former president general himself, never took it serious. Then at some point, later on, then we see a funny website that zero school in the bank. But there was no alternative website to say, hey, that website is not credible. Look at this. And one wouldn't have any alternative to prove that this is what we have. Then anyone else would go with whatever information they have out there. So it is not about saying that that website is fake or whatever it is. Why is it fake? Show me something that no, this is the real to show that this is fake. We were not able to do that. So I just think that this current executive, some of these micro projects that I mean, with 200,000, I believe, or 100, or whatever small amount of money, go down to Morocco, go to any internet cafe and just pay one of these guy. They will design that thing at a very low cost for you, and you get somebody to begin to upload some of this project there. I mean, uh,
So yeah, Director, I think you raised an important point, and just so that you are aware, we before my executive level office, we prioritize setting up, uh, transforming, revamping our website, and that consulting contract was offered to Fomonia, which I
mhm.
think there is already a prototype, a website design,
No,
the new
no, that's
website.
for the US. That's for the US.
Yeah, no, but I'm getting to it because you
Yeah.
see, when you put a code words in a browser, right? It
Hmm.
pulls the information from anywhere, right? So
Hmm.
whether it's done by LECUDO Cameroon, it's done by LECUDO in Europe, it's done by this thing. The key thing is that you need this information to be on a searchable browser that
Yeah.
people can quickly get authentic information.
Information.
So LECUDO USA, we initiated that, and we have a lot of project reports. I just also would like to let you know, our executive has a lot of reports for all the health campaigns for the electrification. And as I said, we're going to put all of this together in a document that would be released to the website and would be released at the convention. It's a lot of work that we are doing behind the scenes so that we can hand this, so that this will be a report that we hand to the current executive. And then, hopefully it would be on the website. But Cameroon, as we said, the new team, because I've had
No,
conversations with.
Terence, no, Terence, let's clarify this point before you continue.
Mhm,
Explain to us, okay, Lekudu USA, right? Information may
mhm,
be up there. You will definitely have the address. Register agent, I think other the address of Lekudu USA
mhm.
maybe is somewhere in Maryland.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, with the phone number and everything. Where if any potential donor want to contact, they would know that okay, this the address because it's the Kudu USA, the
Yeah.
address in America.
Mhm,
But if you say the Kudu national or the
mhm.
Kudu in
General.
Cameroon,
Mhm.
yeah, general. Now I'm to confuse because when I say general, do it include US or not?
Right.
Okay, will address that issue.
Yeah.
That address need to be somewhere in Cameroon with a phone number.
Oh my
So
God.
that
Sir, my brother, there is
explain to
something
me.
that I have been preaching because the diaspora cannot replace homeland, cannot
Yeah.
replace Cameroon.
Hmm.
Cameroon cannot replace a village. We need to be very straight. I am of the generation that thinks that external influence, relying on external, foreigners to come and save us does not help us. It has to be by ourselves. So, as you rightly said, the new team, they are very, very conversant. Even before the elections, I had some conversations with Barrister Nkia. As I said, people can trust where Barrister Nkia and his team, Emmanuel Nkia and his team, stand on this, on revamping LECUDO and giving it the stature that LECUDO deserves. A big, united, progressive, innovative, participatory organization, right? The website thing is going to come in place very, very soon. As I said, the development officer,
Mhm.
Kemta, it's somebody who, I mean, people are going to find out that they have taken a mandate for within their first 2 years, I suspect, to create a governance system for LECUDO that is very united. It's also decentralized because one of the risks is people for a long time have tried to centralize the governance and management of the Kodo. That's a Yaoundé that comes out of the Yaoundé to the playbook. You look at the new constitution; it's the same concept. It's like taking out of Paul Biya's playbook. That's the. I mean, that thing doesn't work. You need to decentralize and empower the units. Village level associations. That is where the power lies. Branches. That's where the power lies. The local community. That is really where the power lies. And stop this top-down system, right? Um,
Exactly, because this brought me to the question of why was this constitution, or why was the amended constitution rejected? Because I saw that document on one WhatsApp forum, I was like, who is writing this? I think it was Chief, what is that?
for Senghor.
Chief Sengom in the UK, who appointed him to head that committee. I didn't know. I don't want to go into a lot of critique, because when I look at that constitution, in my mind, I was like, okay, was anybody in the US ever part of the committee for the revision of that? If we really want to make LECUDO international, which involve everybody, which is something that people have been clamoring for, that in order to be effective, LECUDO national should not just, this national executive not just sit in Cameroon and say we should send our money to them. Meanwhile, you are not even participating in the process. And in order to participate in the process, it should start from when they want to revise the constitution, so that you should give suggestions that will really reflect all the branches you mentioned about people on the ground. Were all the branches represented in the revising of that constitution? I understood that Fosengon was the one that he did the revision of 2008, 15 years
Yeah,
ago.
he shouldn't even be in charge of this
Why is
committee.
he the
I
man
mean, it
bringing
doesn't
one
make
again?
sense. You can't, because you were chair, you were co-chair or chair of the bylaws or the constitutional review committee for process in 2008. You should not be in charge of this, because this is the thing. When you have people who did something uh, 15 years ago, you have someone who led something 15 years ago, and you take them again and you put them in charge of something after 15 years that people have determined that the document has a
It's
lot
old.
of loopholes. It doesn't stand the test of time, and people are doubting how a constitution was made like that. And you take the same person and put at the head of that process, right? That person, there is something we call tunnel vision, where you only see what you can see, you've been seeing for 15 years, right? So that's not really a way you innovate and you revamp an institution. But the other thing is, process matters. The current bylaws, when you want to amend a constitution, you follow the existing bylaws. First, the process is key. If you don't do the process right, it's going to be unconstitutional. Your amendment, your amended constitution is going to be unconstitutional because you did not follow the process. The
And maybe
process
that's the reason
means
why it
that,
was rejected.
yeah, and there must be a reason why people think. a constitution should be revised. A constitution is not a document that any president general comes and say, "Oh, wakes up, clean, wipe, clean up their face, and say, oh, I have to amend this constitution." No, you need to actually. It needs to come from a General Assembly mandate that they have determined that this document, you know, demands uh, amendments, right? And there must
Mhm.
be a reason. There must be a constitutional reason. People must state what are the problems with the document, with the constitution, that they think it requires amendment, and let the General Assembly approve it. And then let a process be put in place that is first consultative. Consultative. They have to go to stakeholders to consult with the stakeholders. The stakeholders members are the owners of this organization. It's not somebody in UK's personal property. So you allow that process to be done right so that you give legitimacy to whatever comes out of that amendment. When you engage in the wrongful process, first of all, go and look at the members of that committee. Out of about 12, five of them are from UK. Only probably one or two from Cameroon. And you ask yourself, considering that this constitution was for LECUDO in Cameroon, even though it was called LECUDO General, but the diaspora has never been integrated into it. But it was for Cameroon. The stakeholders, the members, those who own the organization, were not even represented. They formed a minority. I know my uncle, Prince Asatom, was there. And I'm also surprised that somebody who has lived in the US for that long, and then moved to Cameroon, could allow such an unconstitutional, but just
Amendment.
lack of common sense and due process. You know, Cameroon has a lot of heads, has good people with good brains. So when you find a constitutional amendment committee that is 90% composed of people outside of Cameroon, are we serious? This is part of the problem why you have Paul Biya hanging there for so long. The people who that constitution has to apply, it has to affect the most, are the people in Cameroon and the people in the village. There is nobody on the bank soil who is even part of that commission. Are we serious? Are we really serious?
And one
No,
of the things
it's
that
very it's and you find this up and you find somebody who is in the Western world who understands what stakeholdership rights are, engaging in this type of practice. And then the other thing that I would say, director, there's always this thing where my some of my uncles they approach LECUDO as and you hear them say this, they say this become part of the family, that they want to control. They want our palace to hold control. Wow, they call this upside down. And a lot of this is not what the phone wants. His Majesty, who we are very blessed, he has lived in Canada. He studied in Canada. He's a younger generation. He wants to bring his own generation into the ambit of Lebang things, leadership. If we are doing things the way we are doing this, the fund would not be privileged to have his own generation help him in governance. You understand? So
yeah.
a lot of this thinking, bunker mentality thinking, that people go and they say, oh, they're trying to protect Amazi, they're hurting the palace, they're hurting our family. Let us say this loud and clear. They are hurting the family, the family brand. They are hurting LECUDO. It's not about control. Okay? It's not about control. It's about helping the Lebang people,
So,
right? To be united, to work together for common interests. The
and I think
interest of
and I
Lebang
think
people
and I
is the
think the bank
interest of the
people
palace, is the interest of the fund. People should
and
stop this thing.
I think the bank people should really learn from what transpired in Arizona during the handing of the award to
Right.
LECUDO. That His Majesty, the Fount of Fountain, took the award and said, no, he cannot give award to his own son. Pass it over to His Majesty, the Fount of Photo, which later on now they transfer to His Majesty, the Fount of Lewa. And I mean, as just like that mean the acknowledgement, the credit that His Majesty received at that spot, it was beyond explain. It was beyond measurable. Something that cannot unless you were really there that you feel it was something that was only feel by those that were, I believe, were in that hall at that moment. But it was based on the work that all the bank people have done,
Thank
not
you.
just the
Thank
palace,
you.
or not just because somebody who is related to the palace or something like that.
Thank
It
you.
was a collective effort of because they were. I think CEO Tony Pascal was mentioned about the caterpillar, the bulldozer of acquiring and that kind of work.
Yeah.
These things were not bought by the children of the fund or people
Thank
directly
you.
from the palace. It
No.
was bought by all the bank sons and daughters.
Thank you. And that
Any
mentality
good thing
needs to
that they
change.
do, the fund is always at the
The
hem.
fund is
People,
the one who deserves the credit. And the key thing here, this is my key point. If the bank is breeding well, the palace would breed well. End of story.
that's it.
If the bank breeds well, the palace would do fine. The fund of Fontaine would be at the top of it. Okay? When my executive worked so hard with the committees and all the Lebanon people to do what we did, you see that credit goes to the fund. The fund can be proud of himself, not just of himself, but of his people, right? That is really what matters. People should stop this thing about control. Oh, palace, this. They are they are not branding the palace in good terms. Okay, and they are creating unnecessary appetite against our family and against the palace. That is unnecessary in this modern time. Look at, for example, in JA. Ask yourself, why is it that the village development associations are working just fine? You don't have go to Lekong and ask, right? The chief for the chief of Lekong, right?
Hmm.
Or let me take JA. Fomen JA. There's nothing we are doing in JA that you hear Fomen JA come and say, Ebon come and JA Bondo. Nobody even thinks about that. Nobody thinks about that.
No, the executive decide,
The executive
and the
decide.
general assembly, and the
No,
general
the
assembly.
National Assembly decide. Fominche does not even know. Fominche instead supports. He doesn't pick sides. He doesn't. There's nothing about Palace because Fominche knows. Anyone one JA among one abong right. Ye Fominche it does not. It's not about the Palace because Fominche is zele ale ezena ngina mbebegu mibo mbebegu amabo at the phone. And so you ask yourself, why is it that village development associations they are functioning just well, and you see young people taking over positions in village development association? You know why? Because it's free from a negative influence. It's very free from negative influence. Everybody
And
there
and
has
and, and,
right.
and, and I also want to believe that sometimes people just take upon themselves and do this thing even without the fund
It's
approval.
not the fun, sir. I know my people. It's not the fun. And people go and you hear, you see in this thing the position of Mazi on it's uncheckable. You're not speaking on behalf of the fund. You're just trying to, and a lot of these, my family members, they always want to project and let the fund think that, they are the most advocates and defenders of the
Mhm.
palace. Oh, bullshit. I'm sorry to use this word, but they are not helping us in the palace.
No, I
We,
think
we are the progressive
uh,
wing of the family. We want unity in the bank, and we want the bank people to know that the palace know things of very high, uh, um, you know, expectations from the people, and that the people's will is the palace will. Okay, the
yeah,
people's will. And for the constitution, back to the constitution, there's Article 16 in the LECUDO constitution that talks about amendments, how the amendment process should
should be
happen.
done.
Now, some of us have issues with how that process itself currently as it is, and we think it should be revised. But at least they should have followed the process, the law in force at the
Hmm.
time, which states that you have to whatever document or constitutional amendments proposal needs to be debated at the General Assembly, must be sent to the branches at least 3 months, at least, not 3 months before time, at least 3 months before time. It needs to be not at least 1 month before time,
Hmm.
right? And it needs to be publicized. You must have a consultative process, right? The General Assembly, people must know what they are coming to do. And then the reason I say that needs to be amended is that today we need a bottom up system of governance and leadership, not a top down system. That centralized system is outdated. It doesn't bring innovation, it doesn't bring stakeholdership, it doesn't make people feel like this is their thing. Dr. Kumba, if you organize your party in your house and you just invite me to come and eat, I would only consider myself a guest.
Hmm.
I'll consider myself a guest. I would not feel like this is my thing. I don't own it. But if you want to organize a party, and say, for example, in the family, you call us and you say, we were thinking to organize this party. What do you people think? And we give our ideas. And they say, okay, let's try to see how we can organize this party. That is more efficient and effective than you only going to do your thing and then calling people to come and I mean I got a lot of training. I received my certificate programs in community development, lobbying and advocacy from the British Department of International Development and the US Department for International Development to multiple this thing. I did programs in Pan-African Institute. I spent a lot of time on community development and project management and institution building. The way you build institutions is not the way we are doing it with LECUDO, especially with the bylaws. You need to engage a consultative process. Let the
And
stakeholders, because everybody, you are not more than, I am not
no,
more than you in
yeah,
LECUDO, in the bank.
Terence, and that is very true. Even the election process that they are conducting now, because normally on the constitution, which the old one that I've read like twice, there was nowhere mentioned the month and the procedure, because normally they should have said the Kudu election will be in the month of March, if that is when it usually take place,
Yeah.
so that the current executive know that this is when our mandate will end.
Thank you.
Anyone who is aspiring to become any of the position can prepare their manifesto and maybe even do campaign and say, okay, I
It has
want
to
to
be
be in this
mandated.
position.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
So that,
campaigns must be mandated. I mean, this is not a race to the gutter. This is a race
yeah,
to the mountaintop. We
you
want
need to come and
competition.
present your
What is their
manifesto.
vision? You know, yeah, this is not this type of elections that no, we Lepang people, one of the things people need to understand is Lepang people are very sophisticated. We are blessed now to have so many Lepang people who are educated, who are dynamic, who are they are doing wonderful things. We need to open up the organization for people to want to come and help the bank, help the
Help so that somebody can really present and say, no, this is what, if I come in, this is what we'll be able to do, this is what we'll be able to do. People should listen and they will be able to. I mean, there was some now where someone can even prepare their PowerPoint or their manifesto in point form, even just a page, and put it online for people to even see, if you don't have the media or whatever.
director. I
Mhm.
think look at what we were able to achieve. I'm the only CEO of LECUDO USA who campaigned and presented a PowerPoint. You remember the
Yeah.
2020 Zoom
Yeah,
convention?
yeah, Zoom convention.
First in history, I came in with a clear vision, and I presented my PowerPoint that I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this with my team. And partnership and collaboration and accountability. And I showed how we can do this because seeing is believing. When people see what you're telling them that you're going to do and they have time to discuss with all the other people, then they can make informed choices in terms of
Okay.
who leads them. And I made that presentation. Do you
No,
you
no,
know the votes? We
no,
had
tell
90 something, almost near 100% of the vote.
No, tell you, I
People look
remember
at it.
even,
Hmm,
I think even 2 months after, I think that was in January or February,
correct.
I think I came to Maryland. I think we did an interview
Hmm.
where you were talking about all this health committee, educational committee, this kind of, I think
Right.
it's still online.
Innovation, yeah.
Uh, yeah. I think the current, the new president will invite him to come here and maybe tell us so that we don't live in the past era where people need to be proactive a little bit so that you tell us, okay, this is what you want to do. So that later on we begin to do follow up and
Yeah,
keep it in
accountability.
track.
Media should be
Accountability.
able to hold us leaders accountable. You
Well,
shouldn't, you are not our friend. You are there for the
yeah.
people.
Yeah, I think this announcement. I just received a reminder that next week Sunday that will be June 8th at 2 p.m. and Eastern Standard Time and 7 p.m. Cameroon time. There will be a Zoom meeting for the update of the road equipment manual, policy manual. That I think the last meeting that was revived was debated on, and they was asked to go and correct some English or some few things. Dr. Joe Fodichan will be doing that presentation on that day. I think all the bank people need to join that meeting and uh, and be part of it to really follow up to really be know what is actually happening, because I've also seen that one of the things is we don't engage when this some of the town hall meeting when tangible information is being delivered. Then later on people will go now to WhatsApp or social media and begin to throw away left and right. Then people will pick on that. But I just urge that any concerned bank person should endeavor on June 8th, that's next Sunday, and take
Right.
time to attend that meeting at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 7 p.m. Cameroon time, where the final discussion on that manual will be done. I think after that, I believe they will sign it on that day, then will actually go into effect.
Right. And it's important to highlight this aspect that um, people have to come to these town halls and give their opinions, contribute. Because part of the challenge that we say is people stay away from meetings because we cannot go into everyone's house and talk to them. It is usually in these general assembly meetings that you can give your opinion, you can contribute your own ideas and make a document better, right? And when people stay away and then you see them on platforms criticizing, it's not a very effective way of how democracy works. You have to make your voice heard where it matters because it is at that general thing that decisions are made, collective resolutions are made. And if they go to that general thing and make a decision, the leaders cannot come and then try to do something else based on what an individual thinks
Mhm.
outside the decision. So we all have to contribute to build a bank, which is I think the most important thing. And as I also want to add, for the new executive of the Kudu in Cameroon, the Kudu General, um, they need to be very, very careful about over centralization. And I'm saying this out of, well thought out, evidence based systems. The only way the Kudu USA you saw were able to quadruple. We left from an organization that used to raise less than 50, $60,000 to an organization that was able to raise, close to $500,000 a year. And you know why? How we did it? Through decentralization. We empowered village development associations, empowered our chapters, right? And brought them. The VDAs were able to do things and we're able to partner with them. We did not stop them from doing our own thing because one of the things you hear some quarters in Cameroon would say, oh, the Kudu say they should not be able to do their own things directly. Why you have a central, like we have a federal system anywhere. You have projects that are federal projects. You have projects that are state projects. You have projects that are county projects. That is how you try to mobilize money and development. Because if you only centralize and you are only fighting to exclude people from being able to do their own some things that general, there when you come to any organization, you realize that it's not every good thing that is able to make it through a general assembly of a big
Mhm.
organization, right? That's just the way institutional structuring works.
Yeah.
But if you go down now to you allow those other subunits, they might. apart from the centralized projects that LECUDO General does, they might decide to give water to raise more money and go give water somewhere and go. And then the reality too is that as a central body, LECUDO USA, we could not do everything. So the village development associations were able to leverage and do their own projects, and we allowed them the freedom to do their own projects, right? Because that is how you have a multiplier effect. But if we were
Yeah,
only LECUDO USA doing projects and we say villages should not do their own projects in Lebanon, all those other projects, money that is entering the bank will not enter. So the new executive should think about this. And this idea of over centralization is very outdated. They should create more opening for people
yeah,
who want to
yeah.
develop the bank to be able to come and do it.
Yeah. Terence, I think let's try to wrap it here. It has been a wonderful discussion. I hope our viewers are listening to us. We'll continue to bring update as most of these activities that we'll discuss, especially the Inspire Bright Future, as the 13th holiday is coming on to really open up the BLM, especially Minji, to really put Minji, give you Minji that name, that name recognition, not just the name, but the kind of activity that a headquarter of any divisional or any division in Cameroon in the Southwest merit. So we shouldn't stay behind or shy behind of talking about Minji. And again, our viewer or other people from other fundons shouldn't think that uh, Menji is Leban, as we have tried to explain here, is the administrative headquarter, is the reflection of the BLM as a whole. And lastly, and of course, we will try to, uh, there are many conventions that are making announcements. Lucudem will be on the 30th or on the 27th of June, start this month. Then Lukudu, Leban, will be in Boston, I think around the 27th of July too. So the last weekend of July is Lekudo. The last weekend of June is Lekudem. So those are the 2 days that we have had so far. I want to thank you so much, Mr. CEO Emeritus, for this morning show.
Thank you so much, Gaza Media, and thank you to the Lebanon community.
Yeah. All right.